Are Christians supposed to go to church on Saturdays? Well, does that mean that those going to church on Sundays are serving a God known as the Sun God? Okay, there has been a controversial issues in this case. And today I want us to give a brief highlight on why we are not supposed to go to church on Saturday. And also, if anybody claim that those of us going to church on Sundays are serving a God known as the Sun God, then they are by inferences telling us that they are also serving a God known as the Nuta. That is a Saturn God. And today I want you and I to come together beginning from about 2000 BCE ago, when the Babylonians attributed celestial bodies to the days, day 1, day 2, up to the day 7, and then to the Romans, and then we come back to the Christian age, and why we are supposed to go to church on Sunday, and why if you say Sunday or you go to church on Sundays, you are not serving any sun god, but you are serving the Creator, if only you are in line with the apostolic examples. Thank you very much. My name is Peter POLLEY, and I will be right back. So the original Bible was written so many years ago, before the slave trade Bible. That is the Negro Bible. Kind Revelation 21:21. Or say, let me take you aback. Simon the Cyrenian, who helped Jesus to carry the cross, was an African.
In sorrow he's my comfort, in trouble he's my stay. He tells me.
The Babylonians who lived in Mesopotamia did not name the days according to how we named it. And within the days, the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth days, they associated it with the celestial bodies that they selected. And out of the celestial bodies, they also attributed it to their smaller gods. And today I want to project it on the screen. From the Babylonian who lived in Mesopotamia around 2000 BCE, we will go to the Roman time, when they also named the days according to the Babylonian naming. And they added and refined it and made some changes. And then they transliterated those names to English. And that today we do call those Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Please, I want you to look on the screen. I am projecting it. And whatever I'm telling you, I want you to also go and search whether if I'm telling you is true or not, please. All right. Now, I want us to talk about the Babylonian. Now, this is the Babylonian. They named the day, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. In the Bible, we know from Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2, especially Genesis chapter 1, when God created the heavens and the earth, everything in it, we only hear of God. There was evening, there was morning, day 1. There was evening, there was morning, day 2. There was evening and there was morning, day 3. And later on, he taught us how to count the days. So how come that we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, as Sunday being the first day, Tuesday being this, Wednesday being this? Now, the Babylonians associated their days according to their celestial body. And this is on the screen. Now, the first day, which we call it Sunday, they were not calling it on Sunday. I added a Sunday so you will be able to recognize how they were dealing with it. Now, this Sunday, they associated, that is the first day, with a celestial body, that is the sun. And the name of the deity they attributed this sun to was Shamesh. And it was the god of justice and truth. Now, the Monday, which is the second day, they associated with the moon. And the moon was the celestial body. And the deity was sun. And the sun was the god of the moon. Now, the third day, which is Tuesday, we call it Tuesday. They were not calling it Tuesday. They associated with the celestial body, that is Mars. And the Mars was associated with the deity called Negal. And then Negal was the god of war, plague, and underworld. Same as Mercury, that is the god Nebu, god of wisdom, writing, and scribes. Jupiter, Marduk, chief god associated with kingship and order. Venus, Ishtar, goddess of love, beauty, fertility, and war. Saturn, that is the seventh day. Saturn. That is the 7th day. They associated the 7th day with Saturn. And it was associated with the god called Neuter. And the Neuter was the warrior god, also associated with agriculture and healing. So if you go back to the Babylonian time, they named the days according to their celestial body, and they associated it with their gods. Now, what about the Romans' time? The Romans' time, they also did use the celestial bodies as was used by the Babylonians, but they did make some changes, though some remained, but they also infused some and removed some. All right, so during the Romans' time, I want us to check out the days. They associated with a planet, okay, that was the Sol, that is the sun god, and it was the same as by the Babylonians. And the Luna, that is the moon goddess. They also use the Mars, their god of war. They use Mercury, messenger god. Jupiter, that is king of gods. Venus, goddess of love. And then they also use Saturn, god of time and agriculture. So with all this as projected on the screen, not to waste time, all the days that we do call Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, they were all transliteration from celestial bodies in association with their gods. So if anybody goes to church and claim that since we are going to church on Saturdays and you people are going to church on Sunday, you are serving a god known as the sun god, then by inferences, you are telling us that since you go to church on Saturdays, you are also serving a god called the Neuter god, which is, excuse me to say, baseless argument. We don't need to focus on that. We know that Sunday is the first day of the week, even if they call it Sunday. Tuesday is the second day of the week, and then Saturday is the 7th day of the week. So in each day, as it was named by the Babylonians, the Romans, according to their celestial bodies and their gods, nobody goes to church on Sunday and bow down to the sun god. Nobody goes to church and perform rituals to the sun god. The same time, I will also make it in this way. Nobody also go to church on Saturdays and also bow down to Neuter, that is the Saturn god. Or nobody go to church on Saturday and perform rituals to Neuter. So we have to always be checking an argument. Well, I want to give you 4 Bible texts that shows that the Sabbath is not to be observed by Christians, and Christians are not supposed to go to church on Saturdays. And then from there, then we will know why we are supposed to go to church on Sunday. This is just a brief highlight. Get your Bible and let's read together. Now, if you read the Bible in Exodus chapter 20, verse 9 to 10, it tells us when was the Sabbath. 6 days you shall labor and do all your works, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. So the Sabbath falls on the 7th day. Well, now, I want us to check something. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 2 to 3, we read, "The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, those who are here today, all of us who are alive." So Moses was letting the children of Israel to understand that from Adam to Moses, nobody observed the Sabbath. Nobody. God didn't give such a command. There's no record. But it was a covenant between them and God, the children of Israel and God. And therefore, they were the only people supposed to observe the Sabbath. Now, I want us to go to Exodus chapter 31, verse 16 to 17. And we read, "Therefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations. As a perpetual covenant, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever." Let me repeat it again. "Therefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations. As a perpetual covenant, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever." So it was a special sign between the children of Israel and God in their generation, and not us. a special sign. So we are not supposed to observe the Sabbath. Neither did the patriarchs, that is the Adam to Moses time, did observe the Sabbath until when God made a covenant with the children of Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 5 verse 15 reads, I remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord your God commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. So Moses has made them to understand why God gave them the Sabbath. The reason was that he took them out from the land of Egypt by a mighty hand. That's the reason why he asked them to observe the Sabbath. Wow. So this is one of the reasons that also tells us that we are not supposed to go to church on Saturdays. And if you go deep in the Sabbath, the way it is being observed, it is not the way we are observing it today. Please. It is not the way people who goes to church on Saturday claim observing the Sabbath are doing today. Please. No. And even in the Sabbath, when you breach the law, you were being killed. You do nothing. Not that on Saturday you say you are going to church and you boil some cocoa, the porridge, and you buy some bread and you'll be eating. Some of you will be staring banku and you'll be eating. No. They did nothing within the Sabbath. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I just want to give a brief highlight. Let's check on Colossians chapter 2 verse 14. And he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross. So the handwriting, the handwriting, including the Sabbath, has been taken out. Jesus nailed it to the cross. Verse 16. So let no one judge you in food or in drink or regarding a festival or a new moon or Sabbath. So Jesus took away the Sabbath. He nailed it on the cross, and it is not binding us today. Okay, well, somebody will say that, okay, then why is it that the Ten Commandments says that thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do this? So can you tell me that you can murder? God has refined the old law. Some were added to the New Testament, excluding the Sabbath. And that's why if you read 1 Corinthians 6, 9 to 11, it does speak of murder, fornication, all these things that were said to the children of Israel, not the Sabbath. The Sabbath was a sign, a special sign between the children of Israel and God. And the reason is given because he took them by a mighty hand from the land of Egypt. And Moses made the children of Israel to understand that it was not even observed from Adam to up to his time when at Mount Sinai, God and him, they made a covenant for the children of Israel. Okay, why Sunday worship? Now, when we are reading the scriptures, we all know that we have some 3 sessions we do use in interpreting the Bible. We have apostolic example, we have necessary inferences, and direct command. I want us to use the apostolic example to check why we are supposed to go to church on Sundays. Sometimes people do argue, because Jesus rose from the dead, that is the Lord's Day, as in Revelation chapter 1 verse 10, the Lord's Day, and Matthew 28 verse 1, Mark 16 verse 2. So Jesus, when he rose from the dead, we call it the Lord's Day. When John was in a vision, he said he was within the Lord's Day, Revelation chapter 1 verse 10, and therefore we are supposed to go to church on Sunday. Well, is this argument convincing? Can it convince somebody? Maybe, but this is one proof. Paul was an apostle, and Paul worshipped with Christians. In Acts chapter 20 verse 7, we read, and upon the first day of the week, we know that the first day of the week, today they are calling it Sunday, we are calling it Sunday, but first day of the week. So on Sunday, we know that is the first day of the week. When the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continue his speech until midnight. Watch on the screen. Let's exegete this. First day of the week. We know that it's Sunday. Sunday. So the whole world, many people, everybody call it Sunday. So that is the first day of the week. So when Christians are going to church on Sundays, they are going to church because it is the first day of the week. And then This gathering on Sunday evening, likely after sundown, that is according to the Jewish calendar. So it proved that they were worshiping. Now, why is it? To break bread. This phrase is often used to refer to sharing a meal, but in early Christian communities, it was also associated with the Lord's Supper, a central act of worship. So this wasn't just a meal, it was worship time. So every Sunday we take the Lord's Supper as Jesus commanded, and the apostolic examples also did command that we are supposed to do. We're ready to depart on the morrow. Why did Paul wait to take the Lord's Supper before leaving the next day? Because the next day will be Monday, and Sunday he was supposed to take the Lord's Supper and worship with believers. So it tells us that it was not an ordinary gathering. It was not just an ordinary meal, but it was during a time of worship. Paul preached. When we meet, we take the Lord's Supper, we preach, we take giving, and so many other stuffs. So the text, Acts chapter 20, verse 7, is one of the best examples that tells us that the apostles were going to church only on Sundays, and they were not going to church on Saturdays, simply because Sabbath was taken away and nailed on the cross, and we were not supposed to gather on Saturdays. That is the 7th day of the week. No. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 1 to 3 also do speak of Sunday, when Paul said they should lay something aside so that when he comes, there will be no need for them to be taken given. So if you check out the apostolic examples, it tells us that from Matthew to Revelation, and from the beginning of Acts chapter 2, when the church started in Jerusalem, and Christians became in numbers, and they started to serve the Lord within the Christian age in the New Testament, serving as the New Testament worshippers, they did not go to church on Saturdays. It was only on Sundays. Now, I want to move out from the Bible and come outside the Bible and prove something to you. There is this man called Justin Martyr. Justin Martyr lived around 161 to 180 AD. He was one of those who were killed for being Christians. Please, if you're watching me, get time and search on yourself. Justin Martyr, as spelled on the screen. He was thrown in the lion's den and he died. But he wrote something about Sunday worship. Search, what did Justin Martyr, who was killed for being a Christian, write concerning Sunday worship? He said, when he grew, he saw his fathers serving as Christians, and they were worshiping only on Sundays. And on Sundays, when they gathered, they take the Lord's Supper, they give, and they use it to support the poor within the church, and the remaining is given to the elders. He also said they pray, and some will come out to give a sermon or teachings. In fact, he gave what we are doing as Church of Christ members today. My brother, we are not supposed to go to church on Saturday. Nobody is hypocrite that he should defend that we are not supposed to observe the Easter, but still going to church on Sunday and therefore serving a sun god. No. Please, let's forget about this argument and focus on the scriptures. Just a brief highlight on my brother's comment. And until we meet again, I say God bless you. Bye-bye. So the original Bible was written so many years ago, before the slave trade Bible. That is the Negro Bible. Kind Revelation 21:21. Or say, gold. Let me take you aback. Simon the Cyrenian, who helped Jesus to carry the cross, was an African.
In sorrow, he's my comfort. In trouble, he's my stay. He tells